Yeah, lovely to have you. So there'll be something that we're all thinking about in the room, and it's obviously what happened in Spain with the high-speed rail tragedy. And I just wanted to say that it's on my mind. It's probably on all of our minds, and it really is a terrible situation. And Francois, I just wanted to ask you, when it comes to safety and high-speed rail, how do you think about it, and what are you thinking?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's we all woken up yesterday to this news. It's very tragic, and coming into the office, everybody had a bit of a grim face because we're very sensitive to those things that happen in the industry. So very tragic. Our thoughts are with the families, the victims, the emergency responses are still working there. So really, really tragic. For us, it's really a reminder of why safety always needs to come first in this industry, in transport in general, in rail in particular. It's a stark reminder that, it always have to come first. It's not just a priority, it's a responsibility for all of us. We talk about it a lot. At Eurostar, it's really a responsibility that we all share. We all have a role to play every day on safety, so we're going to follow the investigation very closely, and if there are any lessons to be learned from this tragedy, we will look at it very seriously and take any lesson from it.
Thank you. So we've spoken before, and you told me that rail has a reputation problem. So it could be expensive, people think it's slow, it's super complicated. What's the biggest myth that you're trying to change?
I think we're trying to change a few myths around rail. One is around affordability. I think there is a perception that rail is very expensive. We sometimes mix up the increase in fares of your everyday travels, thinking about the tube, thinking about rail fares, commuter fares, season ticket, which are very different things to what you might pay to go away on a holiday. And these things are not necessarily very correlated. So there's very much a mindset of the affordability you can see on an everyday basis all year round. And there is, if you choose rail to go on a trip with your family as a one-off, where you don't necessarily face the same type of price. So there is this affordability phenomenon. There's a lot of comparison with air. And air can be luring people into very cheap fares when you add up lots of extras and the reality of getting to an airport and carrying what you want. Obviously, it's not the same very attractive fare. So there's the affordability. There is the how we get people to dream about an escape. I think there's always something very powerful with flying. I mean, flying is, we're humans, and I think there's always this thing around flying is quite extraordinary. It really has an association to escaping, to holidaying, to going really far to places you don't know, and discovery really. And perhaps rail is seen as something a little bit more local, a bit more dull. And I think we really try to show that by rail, if you can go quite far away, and people now are really ready to go further by rail, spend more time, more quality time on board trains. So yes, that idea of escape, we're also working to try to work on that myth.
Yeah. And the demand is clearly there. I mean, we're seeing all around the world this interest in rail. Like, it's one of our megatrends this year at Skift. So what would it take for you to, I know your trains are already running very full most of the time. What would it take to double your capacity? Is there enough space? How many trains can we get through the tunnel from London to Paris?
So yeah, capacity is really a top issue for the industry in general. It's not just the operator's problem. Eurostar is just a train operator. We operate train across 5 countries, but obviously we rely on the infrastructure that's there to be used. We can start with where your trip begin in a station. We need stations that are big enough where we have the space to process passenger with a great experience. Operating in and out of the UK is a little bit special. We have to run security and passport checks, so that takes space, and there is congestion in the station. there's congestion where your train gets prepared. Across Europe, we don't have enough maintenance depot. This is true in the UK, it's true on the continent. There aren't enough spaces where you can have those very complicated machines that are high-speed trains maintained with the right level of quality, skill set, and yeah, the right accreditation if you want. So we need more space there. We need more space on the tracks. There is so much traffic that want to get across the tracks in Europe. There's a hierarchy in terms of what priority you give to that type of traffic, whether it's commuter, whether it's freight, whether it's international. All countries use different prioritization rules. So I think we need capacity on the tracks as well. And specifically in terms of border crossing, which Eurostar is doing every day, obviously, crossing border is getting more complex. You would have thought 10 years, 20 years ago that it would get easier through technology, through a world being more open. We're in a world that is not so open and getting more, putting a bit more barriers everywhere. And technology is there, but maybe not necessarily embraced by government. So these are all the things that we need to really work as an industry, as a total system to make sure that there's more capacity. And your question said, are there more slots in the tunnel? And actually, this is the eye-catching thing with Eurostar and Eurotunnel is Eurotunnel keeps saying that there is more space. And they're right, there's a bit more space in the tunnel, but that doesn't solve the whole issue.
I think we had the picture there of your double-decker trains, the planned trains, so that would be cool to see. But you were saying about it's like an airport and a train station, isn't it? You have to go through, but in London, you've got to go through 2 passport checks still, I think. Twice.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that you're free to roam when you arrive.
Yeah. So, sorry, if that demand comes and the rail industry keeps growing, can you stay a more sustainable travel option? Because I know traveling on the Eurostar, if you compare it to the flight from London to Paris, it's like 97% less emissions per passenger. Do you use renewables to power your trains? Are you worried when you expand, will you get enough to keep that as a sort of greener way to travel?
Yeah, our ambition is to have 100% renewable energy by 2030. So we are not there yet, but this is clearly the ambition. Being a rail operator, yes, the carbon emission on a per passenger basis, as you say, is 96% less than when flying. So that's absolutely an amazing saving compared to what, if you go on a flight. But I think customers expect even more and the industry expect even more. So what we find, you were asking earlier, is sustainability something that people are ready to pay for? Is it really a criteria of choice? And you were showing it at the very bottom of the choice criteria. I think what people want to see is, well, you have this advantage because you are, by definition, you're a rail operator. So obviously you have that. But show us you can do more. I think people are really expecting that we go above and beyond just what we are by nature. And they want more initiative. So we've removed pretty much all plastic bottles of our trains. That's 2 million a year. We are upcycling some of the, recycling some food that's not consumed. We have a lot of initiative to show that there's so much more that we can do than just this carbon emission cutting.
And what do you think Europe gets right and wrong about high-speed rails? Because a lot of the world looks to Europe. We've got announcements of high-speed rail links between Saudi Arabia and Qatar. The US is trying, but we've got HS2 here. There's a lot of challenges involved in all of this. What do you think we can learn from Eurostar's experience?
I think what Europe gets right, there's a great public acceptance of rail. I think it's in the culture that rail is a very efficient, serious solution. It's not just an alternative, it's the default choice for many people. I think it is also being more and more successful at operating longer and longer distance rail and offering those options. We see a big revival of night trains, which are embracing sort of slower travel, very different alternative way of approaching travel. There's great infrastructure all across Europe. I think all the countries have been very much at the forefront of building a high-speed rail network a long time ago, which comes with the drawbacks of requiring a lot of maintenance and keeping up with time and the maintenance requirement, and to ensure the safety. We mentioned safety at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. And you can send in questions, by the way, through the Slido app again. But we've had a question in already, and it's about competitors. We hear in the news here about Virgin Trains and others wanting to expand and take some of the market. How are you thinking about that at the moment?
So first, I think we are it is a sign that it's a very attractive industry to be in. I think it's a very good sign. It's healthy for this industry to see that there are more operators willing to come in. We have seen for many years only state-owned railway, especially in Europe, operating, and now pretty much in every country in Europe we can see a lot more competition intensifying and bringing more choice, lower prices, innovative solutions. So I think it's a good sign for the industry. As far as Eurostar is concerned, our focus is on that growth. We believe that the system needs more capacity with or without more competitors, and the challenge for us is to grow that entire system and make sure that we respond to the demand that there is from customers. So that's why we invest in a new fleet of train, double deckers with a lot more capacity. That's why we invest in the station, in where we maintain the train.
Yeah, but doesn't it take a long time to even build the trains and find the things that you need to build the train? Where are the new competitors gonna? Is there a backlog of orders like with planes that we're seeing at the moment?
Manufacturers are always super busy. The train that we're ordering, they must be fit to travel across 5 countries, six countries, plus the tunnel. So yeah, they are not off-the-shelf machines, so it takes time. It is a barrier to entry into this market, let's be honest. It is a drawback for us when we need new rolling stock. So yeah, it takes a lot of time in this industry, but I think the prospects are really amazing. We announced that our ambition is to have direct routes to Germany from here in London, to Switzerland. It's a long-term project, but it's very exciting.
I think we've got a few seconds for another question. So flying is often cheaper due to tax breaks on the fuel. There's no tax on jet fuel, I believe. How would breaks or improved tax impact or support the growth of rail?
I think what we want is as best level playing field as possible, and those tax breaks on fuel, they are yes, they're an advantage of the airline industry. I think what we're obsessed with is a level playing field, and then the customer have the choice.
Well, François, thank you so much for your time and for coming here to Megatrends to talk to us today. And thank you very much for listening.
We're doing another little different thing this year. We decided, I don't know, how many of you saw our ad for the empty chair? All right, so we have decided that we decided we were going to have an empty chair moment where somebody was going to have the opportunity to come up on stage and talk to me. We put everybody who applied in a hat and decided to pick one. So drum roll, they should have given me all sorts of sound effects. Anna Elbenor, come on up. There you are. Anna, welcome to the Skift stage. Have a seat. We're very far away, but that's okay. We'll make it feel homey.
Slightly daunting.
Yeah. Is this your first time on stage like this? Yeah. Okay. So first of all, why don't you just tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, what company you work for, all that good stuff.
So I'm Anna Abdelnour. I'm the CEO of an organisation called Isla. We operate within the business events industry, and we help organisations in the sector take what are really important but frankly quite boring conversations about sustainability as a value or a cultural thing to being a strategic commercial and operational lever that builds capability in the business for long-term growth, essentially, and stability.
So what's your biggest megatrend this year? Like for you personally in what you're doing? Like what's the big trend that you're seeing in 2026?
An emergence, I think, of a different kind of leadership, if I'm honest. I think I look across the sector and a lot of the time leaders are interested in protecting their interests, and I get that. We're human, we have reputations,
you mean like
we
money?
have incomes. Their interests, who they are, what they represent. They represent a brand, they represent an organization, they represent themselves. And I think the industry globally, not just the industry, geopolitically, economically, we're crying out for a different kind of leadership, one that is based in credibility. And I think when you look at that in the context of AI and authenticity is an overused word, but AI slop, if you want to use that term as well, which maybe we won't ban.
I like that one.
But I think that concept of like, what are people saying? What are they standing for? The world order has changed. We need to come back to values.
So everybody in this room, presumably, it works in the travel space. Anyone not? Anyone just here for like the reception afterwards? Okay. What are all of these people underestimating in this room as it pertains to sustainability?
Oh, as it pertains to sustainability,
Or anything else if you've got a zinger.
I think maybe if you've asked me that question before, kind of attending today, I might have said something along the lines of compliance and reporting and regulation with regards to sustainability, not because it's kind of this big thing that's now hanging over our heads, but why we were looking for that in the first instance. But I think when we look at it as an industry, I think what we're underestimating is that this is a travel industry. It is not an aviation industry. And so much of the dialogue is owned by aviation. And that's really frustrating because it closes the doors for other kind of conversation. I think, one of the myth-busting sessions about the SAF fuel, that's because the aviation industry got together and said, hey, how can we as aviation be more sustainable? They didn't sit there and say, hey, we're travel. How do we create connected, blended travel experiences? How do we bring rail? How do we bring public mobility? How do we bring 15-minute cities? How do we look at travel as an experience, as something that we can build a better system for? And so I think that's probably what I think as an industry, and maybe as a room we're underestimating, is that there is a huge amount of power across the rest of the modes of transport that, come together and create a little opportunity to communicate between the two.
There you go.
Thanks.
It's interesting. You talk about aviation. One of all the head-scratching things that, capitalism can come up with sometimes, I still am surprised when I book a flight. At the very end when you go to check out, and it's like, would you like to give like $5 towards sustainability, And I wonder if anybody ever does that. Does anyone ever do that? Does anybody know if anybody actually ever does that?
1.5% of travelers.
1.5%. Thank you, Oliver. Skift advisory in the back.
Why are you paying more for a premium on something that you just expect a better experience? You want business to be doing better. As I'm a consumer, I'm a traveler, I work in this industry. Like, why would I pay for what you should be doing anyway?
Here. That's another one. I've got too much in my hands to clap.
As a way of generating commercial value, like you're completely in the wrong place.
What is something you think that we all will be talking about next year?
What, in terms of generally, or in terms
let's go with generally.
Generally, great.
Let's just go with generally.
Any trends. In terms of what we will be talking about and what I'd like us to be
let's go with
about,
what you would like to be talking about.
I would love us to be talking about the decisions that are made or that we have made that have actually changed the systems. So what I mean by that is that we talk about trends, we talk about kind of outcomes of decisions, but we don't necessarily say, hey, this is what we did. This was the decisions that we made for these reasons. This was what we thought was going to happen, and this is the result of that happening, and this has been good, bad, ugly, amazing for us. I think we share a lot of surface level experience when it comes to communicating with our peers and standing on stage, whether it's in panels or keynote sessions, and I think that's what I
So
mean
you're- I
about the
think-
agenda.
yeah.
The leadership piece is lacking because no one is sitting there saying, hey, we did this, it didn't work, don't waste your time. Or, hey, you're doing something that's really cool, we want to learn from that. And I think that's a big missing piece
Yeah.
in dialogue like this.
I think the word you correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're looking for is accountability.
Yeah, definitely. Accountability to, the sector. It
Yeah.
has to survive for us to survive and thrive.
Yeah.
And, we all have a responsibility and accountability to making sure that happens. And ultimately, when we look at the geopolitical landscape,
Yeah.
travel isn't going to survive World War III.
Yeah.
It'll come back, of course it will, but actually how are we kind of bedding down, how are we creating resilience, how are we looking ahead to those long-term futures and saying, how is that going to disrupt the way that we travel, the way that we engage, where we want to go, and build for that kind of long-term trajectory?
What makes you optimistic? You work in
I am a natural
sustainability, so,
optimist.
yeah.
I am genuinely a natural optimist. Actually what makes me optimistic is that change is the only stable thing right now.
Yeah.
You can guarantee that you will go to sleep and you'll wake up and something else would have happened that is completely off the wall.
Yes.
And that actually, change is the only way that we grow, the only way that we innovate.
Yeah.
And if you are grounding yourself and your organizations and your commercial strategies and your operations and kind of where you're going to in the fact that change is the only constant.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's about what is that long-term goal. And I think the conversation about Eurostar and thinking about
Yeah.
building trains and capacity, if you can think about, hey, in 25 years' time, we want to be a rail-first Europe, for
Yeah.
example, what does it actually take to build that? And then you can micro-adjust your course
Yeah.
across and you can look to China and see that it's decarbonising at a massive rate. It's coming off of coal. So is India. That's because they've got a 50-year strategy.
Okay, so quick lightning round. What is a buzzword you hate?
Sustainability.
What is a travel trend that you would ban?
Oh, green add-ons that do absolutely nothing for anybody.
Okay, finish this sentence. In 2026, the most chaotic part of travel will be...
Reconciling, I don't know travel, but travel business and travel industry, I think reconciling your commercials with sustainability and being able to say, maybe we're not going to hit this
Yeah.
quarter, but we're investing for, a year down the road kind of thing, or 2 years down the road. So, yeah.
All right, so Anna
Abdelnour.
Abdelnour, thank you so much for being our very first empty chair.